Morning! It is 5:30 in the morning and we are off to France today to see my husband's family for the first time in 2 years. So they've never met Aidan, and I think I was only just pregnant when I went there last time. So it's very exciting, but I'm very nervous about travelling with all the COVID restrictions and everything we have to do. I've just found out that there's only 5 months left on Emily's passport, and in some places you need at least 6 months left on the passport to be able to fly. And I'm not quite sure what to do. I read somewhere that it was 3, and then I've just also heard that it can be 6. So I'm just going to turn up at the airport and then see what happens.
Emily, you excited?
Yeah!
Yeah? What are you excited for?
I'm excited to go on the plane!
Bonjour from France. So we're in Toulouse and we're in Jardin de Plantes, I think is how you say it. I'm not very good at French. So we're just walking through. We've had a lovely day. The sun is incredible. The kids are just chasing birds. We found random chickens, poulet, around the place. We've found some pigeons and some ducks, and it's lovely. We have been so lucky with the weather. Toulouse is a wonderful place to go and visit. It's a gorgeous city. It's known as the Pink City because of all the sort of pink coloured brick. And Emily's had a lovely time, haven't you?
Yeah!
So would you believe I'm actually in the middle of a roundabout, a flippin' big roundabout, and you've got to hand it to the French. They know how to do their roundabouts. Evening from Toulouse, everyone. So I thought I'd just do a quick part of the video where I talked about our travelling experience post-COVID times with 2 young children. It was an experience. We flew from Stansted, London, and we drove all the way from Bristol, and the reason why is because we priced up, and although we were able to fly from Bristol to Toulouse directly, they only had 2 flights a week, which didn't work well with Emily now being at school and us being able to take her out of school during half term. So we were limited with the options there. And then when we decided, oh, sod it, we'll just do it anyway, because obviously it's family, it's really important, we discovered that for the 4 of us to go to Toulouse from Bristol, it was 800 quid. £800. It was ridiculous. And then we found out that Stansted also did more regular flights. They did Saturday flights, which meant we could go from Saturday to Saturday and not take Emily out of school for half term. And it was £400. So half the price for all 4 of us to go. So, and that was with checked in luggage, but that was with Ryanair, and you can never really tell what kind of quality you're going to get with Ryanair, or if you turn up at the airport and they've got all these kind of, your bag is like half an inch too big, you're going to have to check it in at £70 a pop or whatever. So we were a little bit nervous about that. So we got to the airport and we checked in luggage. It was actually really efficient considering how busy it was. We got there 3 hours early, and oh my God, we're so glad we did. Just because it just had a completely different feel. We are very much the ones that turn up like 3/4 of an hour before the flight and have to rush through and run to the gate. We might be able to grab a bite each on the way, on the go, potentially to the plane, but that's about it. So I was really aware that we had firstly the long drive to Stansted, and then obviously we had to get through check-in. We didn't know what to expect with COVID and all the restrictions there. Obviously it's the first time we're traveling with 2 kids, not 1. So we gave ourselves plenty of time, and it really did make the whole experience flow better. The fact that we were able to just take our time, and if Emily needed a wee or if Aidan needed a nappy change, there was no fuss. It was just like, oh, okay, fine, go. And we ended up being able to have a proper sit-down meal in the departure lounge. Which meant it set the kids up better. They were all nice and full, and we were nice and full, and it was no stress. The flight itself was, I'm not going to lie, horrendous. We went on, and I think because of like COVID or something, the aircon wasn't working properly, or they didn't turn it up full blast. So it was absolutely boiling. It was roasting. So Aidan, bless him, was just not in a good way. I think he was tired. He was a bit overwhelmed by all the people and the senses and being so crowded, and it's so hot because he had to sit on me for the entire flight, and he was just really grumpy. So I ended up just taking him to the bathroom and just I sat him on my lap on the toilet, and I put the water basin on the water and just filled up the water basin, and he just splashed around in the water for a little bit. Obviously I cleaned it all up after. It was spotless when I left it. But I put some water on the back of his neck just to cool him down, and he just played with the water, and he was happy as Larry, and we were just sat there for a little while. Obviously I made sure there was no one waiting, so that was fine as well. And because, you know, I couldn't, because of COVID, you know, if you have kids, the potentially the thing you can do with them is to walk up and down the aisle, just, you know, to give them something to do, but you can't do that when obviously during COVID times. So I was really aware that anything I tried to do to entertain him meant it was either on my lap or tried to get him away from other people. So sitting in the toilet and playing with the water coming from the tap seemed to be the only thing I could think about doing. And it worked, you know, he was fine. He seemed a bit better after that, but it was a hard journey, and it was only like an hour and a half. Oh. So can you imagine like going for a long haul journey with him? It's just going to be a nightmare. He's not yet watching TV or watching a screen. So, I mean, it's, you know, great because, you know, he likes to be played with, he likes to be entertained. He's not like a screen zombie yet, which, you know, has its perks. But for things like when you need to be on a flight for an hour and a half, 2 hours, it could really be beneficial if he could just sit on my lap and just watch a screen. But he's just not at that point yet. He's only 15 months, so he has no interest at all. I paid a little bit extra to be able to book our seats in advance. I don't think I needed to do that actually because the plane was only half full, but I realised that just for peace of mind, it was worth the money for the peace of mind anyway. You know, I think it was about £7 per seat that I could check in. So altogether it was about £20 add on to the price just to secure a seat, because if it was a really full flight, I didn't want us to risk being split apart. And also it meant that we could check in earlier, which again just gave me a bit of peace of mind that it was all done. And I think I checked in like 5 or 6 days in advance. So we are actually staying with family in France. So I'm currently in their family home because my husband's from Toulouse and we're staying with his parents, which is great in some ways because obviously you've got all the home comforts, but it does have its downsides in the sense that you're never really alone as a family, which sometimes as a holiday you kind of want to experience a place by yourself without having to feel like you need to be entertained or you need to entertain them. So, I mean, it has its ups and downs, but I mean, it's simple things like we've arrived and his mum has bought us loads of nappies and wipes and got some food ready for the children and things like that. So, I mean, it's little things like they've got like a basket full of child's toys that they keep here. And that's really nice because, you know, it's really difficult to know what to travel with when it comes to toys, because they're so bulky, a lot of them. And obviously you've got suitcases, especially if you're flying, so you don't want to take too much with you. So the fact that we've arrived and they've got all this stuff here is great. On the subject of food though, for those of you from the UK who visit France, you probably know that French cuisine is, well, it's famous, isn't it? It's famous for being one of the best places for food in the entire world, which is great for us adults who like to try new things and like quite unique tastes. But for children who aren't used to the food in France, I found it really difficult to know what to give them. So my children like quite bland tastes. You know, I experiment with curries and things like that. So, but even that tends to be quite mild. But we've arrived in France and obviously everything is very well seasoned, as you would expect it would, but even with children's food it's quite heavy. We went to the restaurant today for lunch, and it's so crazy because you turn up at lunch on a midweek, and obviously in England restaurants don't usually open until the evening because you know, most people go out in the evening. But here in France, especially in Toulouse, the lunchtime is a protected time. And for example, my sister-in-law told me that she has 2 hours for lunch, which is, for me who works in healthcare in a hospital setting, 2 hours for lunch just seems a bit sort of so extreme almost. But with that, because it's the culture here, things like going to a restaurant and having a glass of wine and a full 3 or 4 course meal is very normal. So we turned up at the restaurant at sort of 12:30, like a little typical sit outside affair, and it was rammed. But it was great. It gave a really lovely atmosphere, and it really tested us as parents about whether or not we could experience this together as a family abroad and just basically chill out and get on with it. I realise that I'm learning is that when it comes to the children and food, especially Emily, obviously, because she's 4 years old now, and the language you use around food is really important. For example, today, part of the children's menu is something called steak caché, which which is basically minced meat made into a patty. So to the rest of us, is basically a burger, basically, a really posh burger. And I realise now that what I should have done is presented that to Emily as, this is a burger. You're going to have a burger and chips without the bun, basically. It's a burger without the bun. But obviously I turned around and said, oh, you're going to have some steak haché, which is going to be really lovely. And she got it in her head that it was completely like foreign food and she did not want to eat it. And what I have noticed as well, that simple things like you order a meal and there's not many opportunities to eat vegetables. Maybe it's just the meals that we're ordering, but I mean, Emily's meal came out with literally just steak and chips, whereas I think in England normally you get sort of like peas or beans or like something that can add at least one of your 5 a day. So I realised that their diet has probably severely gone down the pan since being here, but it's a holiday, it's fine, we'll deal with the repercussions when we get home. And I am having a very rare evening by myself. All the whole family have gone to the restaurant for the evening, and I offered to stay home and look after Aidan because he has slept for about 15 minutes in total today. So he has barely slept. And I knew he'd be exhausted, and taking him to a restaurant at 7 p.m. would just be a flipping nightmare. So I am here, I've got the house to myself, and yeah, I'm having a lovely time.